both of you, but I think I already gave you a lesson, no? Somewhere in former life or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You probably listened to my recording, no? Do you know? Yeah. Do you know the video on YouTube live with Martin? What?
With Arthur?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah,
yes, I could hear it and feel it, which
okay.
I'm very flattered. And so you see, I mean, what do you want from me? Then I'm very happy to meet you and to hear you. And it's wonderful. No, it's really wonderful. I mean, I shouldn't even tell this story, but maybe I always tell stories. I'm not very diplomatic. That's my problem. Many. I even told this to one of my very esteemed, incredibly famous colleagues once. Maybe I shouldn't mention the name. I should try to be diplomatic, at least with cameras and everything. But after in Manchester Cello Festival, I came backstage because he played very well. I was very impressed with Walton Concerto. And I told him the story. It's not even a joke. I usually tell jokes, but this is a real story. Great David Oistrakh played once in Moscow, big hall of Moscow Conservatory, recital, which was even by his standards exceptional recital. And backstage there were many people very excited. And one of his former students, who was very emotional, Jewish man, wanted to give him compliment. Sincerely, he really loved it. He said, David Fyodorovich, it was so wonderful. I really didn't expect. Can you imagine telling this to a great oyster? I mean, okay. So I quoted this story to this very famous and fantastic colleague of mine after this Walton Concerto. I told him, it was so wonderful. I really didn't expect. He has sense of humor and he's so famous, he can take it. So although probably it was not the best thing to say backstage. So I mean, I don't want to, I hope you take it as well with in the right way, but I really didn't expect. You played so well that I basically don't know what to say, but you make my life very difficult. No, it's okay, it's fine. I mean, because I just get, bravo, bravo, and a few little things here and there, of course, always can be better. But I certainly feel every time I play or hear myself, my recording, I always feel it could be better and should be better. So that's not insult at all. But yeah, no, because I don't really teach for many different reasons. I don't have time and don't have experience. Never was forced to teach, so to say, and because of this, don't have experience. But as well, certain qualities which are different. And I don't teach in conventional sense of the word, but when young cellists come backstage after the concert and ask, do you give lessons? I always say, I just now did. It's the best thing I can do personally, I feel, to share everything I know, love, understand and about music through my playing, and some other colleagues of mine can do better teaching, or some can do both. So, because I always say, I'm repeating myself, but you were not here, and it's important, I think. So, I'm sorry for this camera, so they don't care. Anyway, no, because we all have qualities, and we all have limitations. It's perfectly normal. There are very few people who can do everything, no matter what they do, on the highest level. For this, it's not enough just to be gifted, talented, whatever. You have to have combination of qualities which makes you basically almost a genius. And there are very few geniuses. There are many people who think they are geniuses, and that's where the problem starts. And so the most important quality is to figure out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and not to make fool of yourself by doing something you can't do best, and try to concentrate at what you do best, That's why I keep making children, because my children are, I can show you the pictures. Anyway, it's kind of a joke, but you know, every joke has grain of truth in it. But we used to say in Russian, every joke has grain of joke in it. If it's a good joke, then most of it is true. So I kind of mean it. And then in my spare time, I still play cello, but that's the reason I don't conduct, for example, like so many colleagues of mine, which I would love to do, but and I don't teach, and I don't do many things which I would in theory love to do. And I even, as far as the repertoire, I have relatively limited. I mean, I play a lot of different things, but many things I don't play just because I don't feel I can do justice to music. So it's better, because quality for me always was more important than quantity. I think it's my personal attitude. So, anyway, but yeah, it's, you know, like every woman has something beautiful in it. And almost every woman is something which is not perfect like everybody else. It's just a question of realizing this and dressing accordingly, or you know, using some help in order to emphasize the positive. So it's the same in everything what we do. And yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. I don't really teach, but I hope that you already learned something by listening to my playing or watching videos, and it somehow sounds like so. Yeah, bravo! No, really, no. In every way, you have cello playing is fantastic, and you have colors and sound, and it again it can be even better. It always can be. I always say, again, I repeat myself, trying to reach the perfection in music, it's an illusion. It's like trying to reach the horizon. The closer you come, the more it goes away. It doesn't mean that one shouldn't try to come closer. Yeah. But as long as you realize that you will never touch it, so to say, then there is no frustration. Because I had a friend, I don't know if I should mention, I can mention name. He was born in Riga as well. Philip Hirschhorn was my best friend. And he was phenomenal violinist, musician, and altogether extraordinary person. Very intelligent, very charismatic, I mean, to the point of incredibly good looking when he was young. It was just, anyway, he has so many combination of qualities. But he told me once, there was a moment when he touched perfection. Ever since, he was frustrated, trying to, then it disappeared, and he was trying to find it again. It didn't help him in many ways, because psychologically, unfortunately, and because this is very dangerous illusion when you think that you actually touched it. There is no such a thing, which is fine. Anyway, but so the point is that one can always improve, and that's why we, in Russian there was expression, if you're lucky, you might live to become 100 years old. In Hebrew, we wish always until 120 for some reason. This is considered to be ultimate goal. It's my goal, Anyway, just joking. But every joke has grain of joke in it. Anyway, no, but what the point is, the expression goes, if you're lucky, you might live until 100 years old. But if you're wise enough, you will learn until the end of the day you die. You will still die ignorant, because the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. And that's the, I have, as I keep repeating, because I'm obsessed with the idea, I have 6 unbelievable kids, all ages. The youngest principess, my princess, is 6 years old. And an 8-year-old, adorable. 12-year-old, 16, and so on. And it's interesting to, when children grow up, around this age, 5, 6, or whatever, they learn so many things. And at some point, they think they know everything, which is normal. It's very childish, but normal. But then the more you learn, the more you just realize, oh my gosh, actually, you don't know anything. The same in music. No matter how hard we try and how much we learn, there's plenty to improve and to learn, which is fine. Anyway, but with this piece, there's really not much to say. Still, it's. I find it very good that you start up bow, for example. Alto again, bowings and fingerings. It's personal thing, and it's there is expression. Money doesn't buy happiness. Then there's continuation. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it helps. Okay, so the good bowings don't make the phrasing, but it helps. If the bowings and fingerings are used in order to help the phrasing and expression, then it's very good. If it's used sometimes in order to make it easier, facilitate things, it can be dangerous. It's not always the best, because in life, generally, like in music as well, not always the easy way are the best way. So, yeah, but still, sometimes it's, and this idea, general idea about starting down bow, it's kind of natural, you kind of start down bow most of the things. But there are many, and it's okay, there are many pieces which I find it's logical to try at least different. You know what? Do you play Dvorak concerto already? Yes. I tried at some point. Don't recommend it. You shouldn't. Oh, you can try, of course. But I tried to start even Dvorak concerto up bow. Ridiculous. But but why? Because bang, da da da. These 2/16 notes have to be very powerful, and the danger is then at the end of the bow, they are not strong enough. So here they are much stronger. But trying is okay, just to learn to make there was expression. Everybody makes. The only people who don't make mistake is those who don't do anything. So it's okay. You learn from your own mistakes and other mistakes. So I tried. This is not good. But many things. Brahms C minor sonata. You play Brahms C minor? Yes. Again, it depends. See how you feel. This is one good example, but how you feel the phrasing and the direction of music. I don't know if my cello even tuned, and I'm certainly not tuned myself yet. It's too early in the morning, but it doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to the quality of playing. But see, if you feel. Exaggerating, of course, but the direction. Then it's one thing. But if you feel, so then it's logical to start up bow. But again, you can start down bow. It's not essential. Or better an A major sonata, the same thing. I feel it goes into the F sharp note. Again, I'm exaggerating, but just then it makes sense, and many things. And Schumann concerto, for example, it has to come out of nowhere. The same like here, actually. This comes just literally out of, appears in the air, this first note. It's only, so I think it makes sense, up bow. But then, generally, I'm particularly sensitive and paranoid, maybe even paranoid so much, but about squareness in music, you know, boxes. You know, in Japan, I love Japan. I've been in Japan 51 times.
51?
Yes, in 34 years. I played almost 400 concerts in Japan, which is unbelievable actually. But anyway, that's something else. I love Japan in so many different ways. Food and nature and of course certain things totally strange and incomprehensible, that's normal. But one of the strange things, it's a true story, it's not a joke. They at some point, because they are incredibly well organized and they are incredibly ingenious about imitating things, you know, they learn. And that's why they love classical music incredibly. But not only, whatever they learn, they try to improve. And very often, their imitations are better than originals in certain things. But okay, that's something else. But sometimes it goes to the point of the ridiculous. They, at some point, try to grow watermelons in the boxes to make them square, because then you save space and packing them in the trucks. You do, but it's of course ridiculous. Effort which goes and price. It was so luckily they stopped it, of course, but they tried. But okay, forget about watermelons, square watermelons. But in music, I sometimes feel it's these boxes, which we don't even realize, it kind of becomes part of our, about the bar lines. For instance, the bar lines, it's an indication of to make some kind of order composed, but the phrasing, it has sometimes very little to do with phrasing. Sometimes it corresponds, but most of the time not. It's very often phrase starts with upbeat or whatever. So the bowings as well, it's a very normal thing to somehow automatically change bows with the bar line. You didn't do too much, so again, don't take it personally. You most of the time did it very well. But few things I noticed already in the beginning, I think, which I'm sorry, I'm making noise and oh gosh, this music stand is not the best, but okay. For instance, I mean, this is it's okay what the way you did, but you didn't do like this. But I feel personally this re bemol is very. It's more continuity of what comes. Of course, it's connected to the next as well. But in a way, this is one small example just because it comes. As well, again, I'm contradicting myself continuously. I know, but in this case, I was saying that one shouldn't choose bowings and fingerings in order to make it easier, but it's not a question of making it easier. It's a question of making it easier not to make mistakes, so to say. This slide, of course you can do it, and you did very well. Again, don't take it personally. But again, certain change of position, if you correspond change of bowings with change of position, it helps you to avoid unnecessary, questionable connections, Because I love slides when it's appropriate and when it's tasteful and to a certain degree. But too much is sometimes too much. But again, you didn't do it, so I'm sorry. But immediately after, again, it's a question of conversation, which is continuous in this piece in particular, but not only, generally. most of the time, unless they Paganini, umpa. Even there, he sometimes gives piano piece of melody. But in great music, it's sonatas, but not only sonatas. Here as well, it's dialogue and conversation. And again, I repeat again myself, but it doesn't matter. That I don't personally play for connoisseurs, for people who know this music and heard it many times, and so, because they don't need me. They can just look they can maybe play themselves, or just look at the music and read and enjoy it. I always think and imagine people who hear it for the first time, and I have to try to help them. We have to try to help them to enjoy this, to figure out and appreciate the beautiful journey you take through the gorgeous landscape of music, together with pianists in this case. And that's why you have to consciously try to help them if they hear for the first time because naturally they think you're the soloist and there's accompanist, which is very rarely the case. I played yesterday, for example, Beethoven Sonata, which clearly, Maestro Plitnov tried to insist on me going on stage first. But I made sure that he went first, not only because I had less, because I sit on this side of the room, I had less to walk, that's kind of logical. But as well, I told him, because you're the soloist, I said, no. Beethoven Sonata is written for piano and cello, particularly Opus 5, it's really, which we played. So, but that's the point, and it's always dialogue, and sometimes your part is more important than the other way around. And he writes pianissimo there opposed to piano, yes? And you did, but it could be even more. You have to make certain effort to switch their attention from you to musically and even visually to pianist and piano, and have this dialogue. And then you take over again, and if you have good ensemble, the pianist does the same to you, and and then becomes very lively exchange of ideas or whatever, conversation. So, and here it happens continuously, particularly in Adagio, of course. So, and again, I mean, you see, I'm emphasizing because I don't know. It's very strange, actually. Because I don't teach normally. When I attempt to do this so-called masterclasses, which is as well, I have very strange, for normal people, idea of what masterclass is. And probably I'm wrong, because majority thinks opposite. But then again, not always majority is right. It's not a question of democracy. Sometimes the humanity is pulled along by individuals who have certain vision or qualities ahead of their time. I'm not implying that I'm one of them at all, quite the opposite. But about masterclass, you see, people think that masterclass means that there's student and there's master, yes? It's kind of logical. I feel different. I feel masterclass should be encountered on a level where so-called students are already masters, and you certainly are, luckily. Yeah, but the so-called teacher, or whatever you want to call it, because of his experience or certain qualities or whatever talents, can help them to realize the difference, what in chess, I love chess, is the difference between master and grandmaster. I tell you, there's a huge difference. Quite unbelievable, actually. But okay, forget about chess. What in music or in art is the difference between a master and an artist. It's this last step, which at the end of the day, no matter what you do, makes the difference. We all cook. too, I'm sure. I wouldn't recommend my own cooking, but I mean, I can survive, and even my children, I can feed certain things. I always make jokes, and if I concentrate and don't tell too many jokes, I can boil pretty good eggs. That's the situation. I can do a few more things, but I'm not a good cook, unfortunately. But some people are much better, but then there are great chefs, and it's something else, as we all know. And the same, no matter what you do in life, I sometimes compare it to climbing the mountains, which, you know, I live in Belgium, which is almost as flat as Latvia. There are not real mountains, there are some hills, called Ardennes. But then last week when there was in Verbier Festival, like every year in Switzerland, there's this magnificent Alps, I mean, really amazing. The beauty of the place is just stunning. I went there almost every year, since 1994, first festival, with all my family. Every time you come, you look and you think, if you would see on a postcard, you would think it's a Photoshop, you know. It's just not real. Okay, but anyway, what I'm trying to say that there are these Alps, but there is Everest. And people who climb the mountains, they say then this last few hundred meters, that's what makes the difference. So whatever you do in life, this last step is usually the most difficult and the most important. And so my idea of Masterclass is to help to realize this at least, and the difference. And that's why it's not a question of bowings, fingerings, or so. It's all kind of general things that I'm trying to speak about, which hopefully at some point you might think about. It's the food for thought. Because I was incredibly lucky to study with both Rostropovich and Pitigorsky. And it was just, you know, I always say, not always, sometimes, it probably sounds sacrilegious. With whom did you study here? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Diana Ozoliņa.
Not with Eleanor, the Cellists.
No, it's her student.
It's her student. So you, in any case, you come from the same. Anyway, because with Eleanor, the Cellists, she studied with Rostropovich, the same like me. And so, anyway, what I was trying to say, that, you know, everybody knows that Rostropovich was arguably I never say the greatest, but one of the greatest cellists of all times. So it probably sounds ridiculous for you or anybody that I personally think that he was even greater teacher than cellist. In a way, I mean, again, because he had such a phenomenal imagination and fantasy and energy. Then basically kind of this box was too small for him to express all of it. That's why he started conducting and played piano, of course, amazingly well. And, you know, and that's why sometimes I remember so many lessons of the same piece, let's say Debussy Sonata in particular, but not on, which over the years I heard so many lessons, different, every time different, with so much fantasy, so much expression and detail. And then when you heard him playing, it was sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, even by comparison a little bit disappointing, because it was impossible for him to express all of this through the playing. So what I'm trying to say then, both Rostropovich and Pitigorsky were incredible teachers, but very different kind of teachers. You see, both of them, okay, it was partly because the level of students was very high and everybody played cello pretty damn well. Maybe not as good as nowadays. You know, I'm jumping from one thing to another. I never finish my stories. I'm sorry. It's my problem, one of many. But you know, it just makes me think of it. Many years ago, I swore never to sit in a jury of competition, because I have very mixed feelings about competitions. I was too many times on the other side. I played in too many competitions. And I know what's going on in the juries sometimes. And altogether, I agree with Bella Bartok Bella, as they say in Budapest, in Hungary, who said that competitions are for horses. Music is, but again, like everything else, competitions do have some positive things. The exposure you get, and it's particularly nowadays, it's all recorded on video and available forever, basically. It gives you unbelievable exposure, even if you don't win. So anyway, that's something else. But I never wanted to judge anyone. It's a matter of principle. I'm judged continuously every time I come on stage. So, but who am I to judge? You know, that's how I feel. But then I changed my mind a little bit. My older children, who are both musicians, influenced me, because I was asked to be in jury of Tchaikovsky competition years ago when I couldn't because I was too busy. And as a matter of principle, I wrote a letter explaining my attitude. I didn't want to be. But then I was asked again, and they convinced me because I don't have students. I don't have any interest. There's never conflict of interest in my case. They said, maybe you can help to counterbalance the whole system and do a little bit to improve it. And I thought, yeah, maybe there is a point. And to be perfectly honest, main reason, last drop which made me decide to go was the cellists were playing not in Moscow, but in St. Petersburg. And you know, I spent 4 years in St. Petersburg and 4 years in Moscow. But St. Petersburg was first altogether, it's something about it. But anyway, it was between age of 14 and 18, my first love and everything. Somehow I have very special sentiment. In Moscow I had a great time as well, but it's different. Anyway, and it was end of June, last 10 days of June in St. Petersburg, white nights, I mean, I just couldn't resist. So I went. And then I went again, second time to Tchaikovsky, and as well in between Queen Elizabeth competition in Brussels, first time had cellists. So I was only in the finals, but still. This allowed me to hear many young cellists, which otherwise I very rarely get a chance like this. And I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, the level of cello playing is just phenomenal. You know, I got even depressed for a moment. You know, because I was supposed to be in Queen Elizabeth as well in the semifinals, second round. But there was a mistake in my schedule, and I found out that 2 concerts which I promised to play in Taiwan with orchestra were in my schedule in a different year, by mistake. Anyway, it was during the semifinals, so I couldn't. But while in Taiwan, in the middle of the night, instead of trying to sleep with jet lag after the concerts, I was listening on the internet to semifinals because I took it very seriously. I think it's great responsibility to judge. So I was listening to semifinals, and they played, you know, hide and C major, one better than the other. I mean, really, yes. Because it's one of the easiest concertos there is. It sounds very difficult, but so. And it was just, oh, and I told to my wife, you know what, maybe I should retire. I'm getting cold, I guess I couldn't play like this. But then I listened to the finals. And I thought, maybe I shouldn't. Not yet. Because there are certain things which, you see, the level of playing is phenomenal. When Rostropovich was participating, I think, helping, so to say, Prokofiev to write symphony concerto, cello part, he kind of participated. He wrote, made it as difficult as possible, but very fitting his particular phenomenal hands and qualities. At the time, almost nobody could play this piece. Nowadays, every it's amazing. Technical level raised so much, like in everything else. In sports, now, Olympic Games, look, the records are just smashed. Somebody told me, now the women in running, beat the time of 30 years ago men. Okay, it's not that I'm implying that women are inferior, not at all, quite the opposite, it's just different.
Yes.
You have qualities that we can only dream of, and I do dream of them a lot, but anyway, that's something else. But no, you know what I mean. The point is that, but that there is a danger in music, because I always feel this way, that because of the level is technical level so high, and the competition is so tough, the young musicians feel that in order to succeed, they have to practice even more, in order to play even faster, even louder, even cleaner, even better. And then the danger is that priorities get switched around. And you know, when people ask me to point out one most important thing I learned from both of my teachers, it's very difficult because there's so many things. But if I have to point one, I always say probably it's the fact that one should, on a daily basis, every morning after you brush your teeth or whatever, even before, whatever, it's just a question of priorities, doesn't matter. Remind yourself what is what and who is who, so to say. Because the cello in our case, or a piano or any other instrument, it's only what the word instrument implies. It's a vehicle which helps us to achieve the ultimate goal, which is music, and not the other way around. One should never use music in order to show how good you play your instrument. And nobody does it on purpose, almost nobody, I guess, consciously, but unconsciously it can happen. It's, you know, once, I will never forgive myself, I was too cheap and didn't buy in this shop the box of CDs of Rostropovich, because I had all of them anyway, but I should have bought it just because of the mistake on the cover. There was a picture of Rostropovich on the cover with the bow in the left hand and the cello in the right hand, because, you know, it was with now digital photography is different, but you know, you switch the negative and pop, it's suddenly all wrong. And can you imagine, they didn't even, they printed and put it in the shops. I mean, that's ridiculous, okay? But because it's, you look and kind of everything all right, but then something is wrong. And then you say, wait a minute, of course it's wrong. So it's the same when sometimes you listen to the concert or recording, and everything is fantastic, whatever, but something is wrong. And then you realize that what's wrong is that music suddenly becomes secondary, and your technique, your virtuosity, whatever, all your qualities, your sound, and it's all incredibly important, but only in order to help to express the music, and not other way around. So this is, it's very, very important attitude, general attitude. And that's what they both, Rostropovich and Piatigorsky, are emphasizing very much, because they approach the teaching, as I already was saying before, saying many times, in very different way. They hardly ever took cello. Piatigorsky did more than Rostropovich because he didn't play piano as well. Rostropovich was sitting on the second piano and was doing goodness what there. It's amazing. But generally, they never much spoke about cello playing as such. Again, because their students were on higher level. But because they had different approach to music making. They try to help the student to realize what composer wanted to say and how they personally feel what they want to have the final result like. And then your destination, your final goal. And if you have very clear idea and picture in your mind, then you find your own way, hopefully. Which way you take, it's secondary, it's not most important. important is to get to the right place. Rostropovich used to like this joke, not many jokes, but about the spider asking centipede, you have so many legs, so many feet there. What is your 47 foot does when the 22nd does this? And centipede start thinking, and he couldn't move anymore, you know. There's certain things should come naturally, and it's again, it's secondary, it's not important. Important is not how, if you walk on the street, and in order not to trip over something, you look under your feet all the time. Maybe you won't fall down, although you might hit something as well. But the danger is you might end up in the wrong direction, wrong place. You have to have this long vision and try to, of course, avoid obstacles other way. But that's general attitude, which is very important. And what I was saying that, I spent 4 years with Rostropovich in Moscow, but he was gone a lot of the time because he played incredible amount of concerts all over the world. And then I spent only 4 months with Pitigorsky in California. That was the end of his life, unfortunately, and he knew it. That's another thing, because he smoked much too much, lung cancer. And he didn't play much at all at that time anymore. And so we spent basically these 4 months. I probably spent more time with him in 4 months than 4 years with Rostropovich in Moscow. But I played for him almost every day, twice a week in the USC university where he was teaching in the class. And the rest of the time at his home, every day we played a game of chess because we both loved chess. And we had usually lunch together in his favorite restaurant, and we went for walks, and we played some duos together. He loved my cello, so he would take my cello, would give me one of his struts, and I was just anyway. So we spent a lot of time together, and almost every day played for him different piece of music. I almost nothing played twice, because I tried to, that was the idea, to go through maximum different kind of music repertoire. So I played everything I could and many things which I couldn't. But the quality of playing was not the main point. It was just for him to give me certain ideas to digest. And I feel I still am digesting in a way, because he was a remarkable man in so many ways. So was Rostropovich. I'm not implying. Yeah, I always say, when I say that these 4 months were the best time of my life, which I do very often, I immediately clarify, I don't imply that Pitigorsky was a better teacher than Rostropovich. It would be as ridiculous as saying that Mozart was better composer than Bach. I mean, you cannot compare this kind of geniuses, giants. So I was a better student, this for sure. I was older, and not just older, but these last 2 years of my first life, as I call it, it was like 20 years in a way, life experience. For 2 years I didn't see my cello, much less play. I had all kinds of experience. I was 18 months in jail, labor camp, 2 months in mental hospital, shoveling cement outside Gorky, Nizhny Novgorod, trying to build communism, obviously unsuccessfully. Anyway, that's all my fault. That's a joke, silly joke. Anyway, no, what I'm trying to say, that this was very important time of my life. I never regret it. I always say I'm kind of grateful to my destiny or Soviet regimes for having me have this experience in life, because I never got diploma of Moscow Conservatory. I'm not even legally probably allowed to teach, you know. I mean, who am I to teach? So that's why I don't teach. You know. We're just talking about whatever. But I got a piece of paper testifying that I attended 4 years out of 5 and had, I believe, 61, if I'm not mistaken, exams out of 63. Because last year the Moscow Conservatory had 3 exams at the time. But the chamber music, I could even show you, maybe later, doesn't matter. I have a picture of the only thing I took with me when I left Soviet Union. I didn't have much at all. But the poster, which I have still in my studio very proudly. I'll show you a picture of, I can show you now. Maybe they want to see. Because it's here in Riga in 1969. On the 7th and 11th of May, 1969, I played, we'll see now in a second. If I have too many pictures, it takes a little while to find it, but it shouldn't be too long. I played in 2 concerts, complete Beethoven sonatas and variations with Radu Lupu. You want to see? Can you see? Doesn't matter. It's not for publicity, but it's well, gospel. You probably don't even read Russian, no? But you can get it. Yes, yes. I'm sorry. It's in Russian, but it's Латвийская филармония, зал камерной музыки, with all sound mentioned. Great Radu Lupu, he's an unbelievable pianist. This is a joke. Yes, it's a Radu. Anyway, but the point is that he was finishing conservatory this year, and for his final exam as pianist, he offered all Beethoven concertos for choice, and for chamber music, all sonatas and variations. And we did together, and we came on stage. We didn't know where we were going to play, and they chose. Yes, so they were so impressed, and I got my exam in chamber music in advance. So for full diploma, the only thing is missing 2 exams. It's final exam, cello playing, and scientific communism.
Oh.
I know for you it sounds like a joke today, but that was most important.
Of course.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what is missing from a diploma. Anyway, but I'm trying to say that I already lost my connection to this, but I never finished conservatory, but because of this last 2 years of experience I had, but I received much more complete life education, in a way. But what I'm trying to say then, when I came to Pyatigorski, I was older and felt much older. I felt too old. That's another lesson which I got from Pyatigorski, one of many. He was such a gentleman, really very delicate man. He was never would tell you, what are you doing this? It's so stupid. No. He would find way during the walk like this, talking about whatever, nature, this, that, whatever, anything. And then telling some stories. And he told me stories. He was very good friend with Stravinsky. And he once told me, quoted Stravinsky, which Stravinsky once told me at the end of his life, he told me, you know, Grisha, I suddenly realized I don't have time anymore to be in a hurry. And I thought, oh yeah, it's clever. Yeah. It took me a while to realize what an important lesson it was for me. Because when I came out, I was almost 25 years old. I felt so old when I saw these wunderkinds making debuts with New York Philharmonic at the age of 11 and the recording at the age of 12. I mean, and I had to start everything from scratch, like Second Life. I felt I had to catch up. And of course, when you try to do things too fast, the result is opposite. If you open the faucet to fill up the cup with water too strong, it never will be full of what's going on. Simple example, but there are, of course, famous fairy tales about the race between the rabbit and the turtle.
Yeah.
You know, of course. No, but it's because it's true. Anyway, so it took me a while to digest his advice and lessons. So again, I'm not implying that Pyatigorski was a better teacher. I was a better student. I was more mature. It was beginning of my new life. I was full of positive energy, and it was the end of Pyatigorski's life, and he knew it, and he loved speaking Russian. He spoke beautiful Russian, not like we do nowadays. And I didn't speak any English. I just learned or picked up my English in the streets of Los Angeles while studying with him. So of course we communicated in Russian, which he enjoyed very much. And for him it was the last chance to share his incredible life experience, which really amazing amount of great musicians, composers he met and played with. And not only altogether, which probably was even magnified by his incredible imagination. I don't know if you had a chance to read his book.
Not yet. I've heard about it.
Hardly
Someone
recommend
gave
it.
to me.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
very interesting, very entertaining stories. And some of the stories, people say exaggerated and maybe never even happened. Maybe he imagined, but he believed in them. And they're great stories. They don't hurt anyone. So enjoy it. But what I'm trying to say, for him to share this incredible experience with someone who was like a dried out sponge, you know, sucking it in. It was very intense two-way relationship. So that's the reason I say it was best time of my life. No insult to Rostropovich at all, because he was just phenomenal teacher and personality and musician and so on. Anyway, but I think we're terribly out of time, over time. I'm so bad at this because, and I'm talking too much. But and we hardly spoke about Schumann. But you, as I said, you played very beautiful. And congratulations! I'm very impressed and very happy to hear you, and just wish you plenty of luck and continuation
Thank you.
in enjoying
Very
music.
much.
Thank you. Because I just now noticed the time suddenly. So we have somebody else, I think. But thank you very much. Good luck.